foods that are actually banned in other countries. Believe it or not, but chewing gum is actually banned in Singapore. That's because a lot of people kept spitting it out on the ground. M&Ms are actually banned in Sweden, and that's because there's a Swedish brand called Marabou that has an M on their candy as well. They actually took M&Ms to court and M&Ms lost. So in Sweden, the candy actually looks like this and not like this, so there's no M on them. The iconic Kinder eggs are actually banned in the United States. The reason why is actually because of the small toys inside. The FDA actually claims that these are a
things iPhones can do that you had no idea they were capable of. We all know how iPhones have power buttons and volume buttons, right? Well, iPhones also have a third button. Yeah, no joke, because you guys see that logo on the back of iPhones? Well, that's actually a secret button that really nobody uses. And you can unlock this secret button by going to your settings, going to accessibility, touch, and then down to back tap. And then from there on, you can literally just grab your phone and double tap it, and it will just go to your camera app, flashlight, or anything else. Next, you guys know this famous Apple charger sound when you plug in your iPhone? Well, you can actually change that sound, no joke. And to do this, you have to go to the Shortcuts app and then go to Charger, have Run Immediately, and then you can make it say certain text, or you can make it say certain sounds by picking a certain file. So you can make your charger sound like this. 2026
This woman worked for one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies and then was found dead when she exposed them. Brandy Vaughn worked for Merck from 2001 to 2003 as a pharmaceutical sales rep. Her job was to sell Vioxx, a painkiller that ended up killing more than 38,000 people. Vioxx was a medication prescribed mainly to patients with arthritis, but many people were getting heart attacks and strokes from using it. And the thing is that the company knew the risks of this medication, but they kept selling it anyway. So when Brandy realized this, she resigned and began speaking up about the lack of transparency by pharmaceutical companies. She then started a nonprofit called Learn the Risk, where she exposed the industry and claimed that these companies were keeping people sick for profit. Brandy was definitely making an impact, and people began questioning the industry, especially vaccines. One of her biggest arguments were that American children are being injected with over 70 doses of vaccines before they even turn 18, more than almost any other country in the world, and that nobody is being honest about what's actually in them. But the more Brandy spoke out, the more things got weird. She came home one day and found her hidden house key placed on her front doorstep, and it was clear that someone was in her home. She changed her locks and installed a $3,000 security system, but days later, someone broke in at 3:45 a.m. and disarmed her system using the code that only she knew. They didn't steal anything, but they moved things around, and it was clear that they wanted her to know that someone was in there. At this point, Brandy was convinced that her house was bugged and her conversations were being listened to. She then posted this message on Facebook that said, "If anything happened to me, it's foul play, and you know exactly who and why." 1 year later, her 9-year-old son found her dead in the house. Then, just 4 days later, on December 11th, 2020, they began rolling out the COVID vaccine. Brandy's cause of death was from a blood clot, but people were not convinced.
If you ever see a crocodile doing this, someone's about to become a hashtag. So crocodiles are covered in pressure sensors. Those sensors are why you might be able to get away with doing this, but if one drop of sweat falls, your head and body are divorcing. Those pressure sensors are so sensitive that they can detect the smallest disturbance. If y'all knew how long it took me to pronounce that, y'all better like this video. Basically, a butterfly could go skinny dipping and they'd feel it. Not only are a crocodile's jaws more sensitive than your fingertips, now for real, Google it, I ain't want to believe it either. Crocodiles can figure out exactly where you are, even in complete darkness. So when water's too murky to see, what they'll do is they'll stay perfectly still and then spread out their arms and fingers. It looks funny, but doing this means the crocodile can detect even the smallest pressure changes in the water, and use that to figure out exactly where its next meal is coming from. All while you would never see it coming. Which is probably why crocodiles put an estimated 1,000 people on milk cartons a year. That's not a crocodile T-posing. It's an obituary that hasn't been written yet.
Let me tell you some crazy things happening in the world right now. This robot has been building cars at BMW for over 6 months now, working 10-hour days. It contributed to building over 30,000 different BMWs at the South Carolina plant. A 1,000-year-old mummified cat was discovered in Turkey. A new dinosaur species was discovered in the Sahara Desert and this guy is about the same size as a Tyrannosaurus Rex. By the end of January in this year, Utah had 0 inches of snowfall, while Florida had over an inch of snowfall. A man with dementia hit a $1.2 million jackpot after mistaking a slot machine for a vending machine when he was just trying to get a Dr. Pepper. A study is saying that people born between 1985 and 1995 actually are on average looking younger than Gen Z does. Gen Z has apparently had a bunch of lifestyle factors that have made them look older, and the millennial generation has been using skincare routines better than the previous generations. 1993 right here.
Thomas.
One of the strangest things about Epstein's New York mansion is this right here. So as you can see, this appears to be an outdoor table and umbrella with outdoor chairs set up inside. This to me makes absolutely no sense, and it is incredibly strange. So yeah, I mean, I get having chairs in your house and I get setting them up around a table. I mean, that's a pretty fairly typical thing to do. But it's the fact that there's an entire umbrella set up in the room and that this is an outdoor furniture set that makes this so strange to me. I mean, I don't think that I have ever in my life seen something like this. And it is just, I mean, it's the complete opposite function of what these things were basically constructed for. This is outdoor furniture and outdoor umbrella. You don't need an umbrella inside. And yet Epstein has placed all of it on the interior of the home. And interestingly, it doesn't even really look like there are windows or anything that would be bringing a lot of sunlight into this room. I mean, I believe this is a window maybe right here, but these appear to just be solid walls. I mean, there's a painting hanging up there. And right here, I think this is the entrance and exit to this room. So, I mean, this really looks like a room where you just come in and it's just this set up. So, yeah, I haven't seen anybody really mentioning this, but I found this to be one of the strangest things in the files. I mean, it's just so, I don't know, it bugs me for some reason because it's so clearly not what it's meant to be doing. And yet I have this feeling that it was set up like this, or that this was there for a very specific reason. I don't know the reason. I don't know why this would be set up like this or why this would be here. But with Epstein and Epstein's properties, every single thing, every detail had a purpose and it was placed there for a reason. So they do all tell a story, and this room and these decorations and these chairs and this umbrella, they tell a story. Now, what that story is exactly, I don't know, but that's obviously what we're all trying to figure out. Why don't you let me know your thoughts in the comment section? I'm very eager to hear what you guys think about this one.
Everyone knows Lincoln Park is the name of a military base in Canada where they experimented on and tortured children in the top secret government project known as MKUltra in the 1960s, allegedly. It's called RCAF Station Lincoln Park in Calgary, Alberta. Then you have Chester Bennington, lead singer of the band Lincoln Park, who himself suffered abuse as a child and was allegedly working on a documentary in 2017 called The Silent Children, exposing the elite's rings around the world, along with his good friend and lead singer of Audioslave, Chris Cornell, who was also heavily involved in the project and the investigations, and happened to tragically take his own life in May 2017. Exactly 2 months later, Chester takes his life in July 2017 while investigating his friend's death, both by apparent him. Also involved in the Silent Children documentary was world-famous DJ Avicii, who took his own life less than a year later in April 2018, as well as celebrity chef and travel documentarian Anthony Bourdain, who, you guessed it, took his life just a few months later in June 2018. And if you search any of this up, it'll tell you it's just a conspiracy. The documentary never existed, and these tragic passings were all completely unrelated to each other. Well, isn't that something?
2026 just got even crazier, part 23. So LEGO just released an advertisement video for their new World Cup set, and in the advertisement video, they had some of the greatest soccer players to be in it. And the two things that stuck out to me the most in this commercial is how much do you think it costed for all of those players to be there? And the second thing is, even though it might look like they're all sitting at the same table, in reality, they're not. It's just edited. But this is honestly way better than AI generated content. Next, McDonald's just released this product named Archie, and it's the most unusual product McDonald's has ever released. Its purpose is to bring the analog sticks of controllers together so gamers can eat without having to worry about being AFK. If you need this, I don't want to know what your controller.
The world is so crazy right now. Netflix is testing a new feature that pauses your show and plays an ad after it detects that you've looked away from the screen. There is a proposal being reviewed right now to collapse all the time zones in the US into one. The representatives pushing this are saying that it's going to reduce confusion. A new study just came out saying that those who are doom scrolling consistently every day are generating enough body heat to be qualified as light exercise. Apple just quietly updated their terms of service to say now that any idea that you have while wearing AirPods is theirs. Google Maps just added a new feature that takes you down the most aesthetically unpleasant route. An archaeological excavation last month just uncovered an ancient race of skeleton people. Southwest Airlines just announced that they are phasing out complimentary cabin pressurization. And TSA is trying out a new $49 opt-out from body scanning. You also have to sign a waiver confirming that you are probably fine. This map shows what a new proposal looks like to make the United States just 2 states. There's a land bridge that goes in the middle to connect to make sure that it stays this way. A new bill was just introduced requiring all AI-generated content to be followed up by a 3-second pause so that us humans can emotionally process it. My name's Adorian, follow me to stay in the loop, and I just want to say as well, for no apparent reason, that April Fool's Day is my favorite holiday. Bye.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not gonna lie.
This girl was brutally killed by her scarf. In 1927, Isadora Duncan's life came to a sudden and devastating end during what should have been an ordinary moment. As she stepped into the passenger seat of a convertible for a short drive, draped around her neck was one of her most recognizable trademarks: a long, flowing red scarf. As the car began to move, the scarf lifted into the air behind her, trailing in the wind. For a brief moment, everything seemed calm. Then, in an instant, the fabric was pulled backwards and caught in the car's rear tire. What happened next was immediate and unstoppable. The scarf wrapped tightly around the axle, snapping with violent force around Duncan's neck. Duncan was yanked from her seat in a split second, the motion so sudden that there was no time to react. The tension around her neck tightened instantly, and the outcome was fatal almost immediately. She was strangled and died. A simple drive, nothing about the moment seemed dangerous, yet in seconds it became one of the most shocking and well-known accidental deaths in history. A reminder of how something small, almost weightless, can turn deadly without warning.
In this Roblox horror game, you must work on a ship alone or with your friends, but really strange things happen, especially below deck. You'll have to spend several days at sea, and the captain will ask for your help with simple tasks like preparing food, washing the deck, or putting coal into the boiler to keep the ship moving. Sometimes the captain will ask you to steer the ship while he rests, but he'll act quite strangely towards you. When you run out of potatoes or coal, you'll have to go below deck to get more, but the atmosphere down there will be quite eerie. There will be strange noises and something seems to be lurking. You'll start to wonder if the captain is hiding something weird below deck. You decide to investigate and glimpse feet being dragged into a wall. The captain will then disappear for 3 days, and increasingly strange events will occur on the ship. The food will mysteriously run out quickly, and you'll have to go back down below, where you'll encounter this truly creepy entity that has devoured the captain and wants to subject you to the same fate. The game is called Short Creepy Stories. Mention a friend to play with them tonight.
2026 just got even crazier, part 24. Artemis Mission 2 successfully completed a flight around the moon and set a record for the furthest distance humans have ever traveled from Earth. It's pretty cool. However, while NASA was live streaming the lunar pass-by, the entire YouTube live chat was just spamming 67 on the NASA channel instead of actually talking about the lunar pass-by. So yeah, while those astronauts were up there making history, people were on their phones watching, just spamming 67. Next, while the astronauts on Artemis 2 were on livestream, Nutella got the partnership of a lifetime, because out of nowhere in zero gravity, a Nutella jar came floating right around the cabin, not disturbing anybody on board. And the funniest part about all of this is, this happened literally just less than 4 minutes before the crew on board set a new world record for the furthest distance traveled into space from Earth by humans. I'm not gonna lie, this has to be my favorite video of 2026 now.
waa ji ngeen di gis nii dafa fay 39 millions de francs CFA pour niroo ak extraterrestre maanaam dafa fay 60 000 euros pour niroo ak extraterrestre moom moo ngi tudd Anthony Lofredo français la mais boo ko gisee doo ko sax teg nit ndax dafa ñàng moom nag rêve am mooy niroo ak extraterrestre ba tax na fi mu ne nii ñoo ngi koy woowee black alien moom nag bu defoon ay tatouage rek yam si mu tane waaye dafa dindi ay noppam dagg bakkanam làmmiñam bi mu xar ko ñaar benn loxom bi mu dagg si ñaari baaraam tatouage ba si peru bëtam yi fi mu ne nii nag bopp bi yëpp dafa fees dell ak ay implant en silicone loxo yi tamit bàyyiwu ko noonu mën nañ wax que ni yaram bi yëpp dafa fees dell ak ay implant yàggul dara dafa dindi li nga xamante ne moom moo nekkoon tuuñam bi gën a jege bakkanam moom nag dañu koy poser ay questions yu bëri comme lan mooy liggéeyam ak ndax dina arrêté ba tax na wax na que ni image am moom moo koy dundal ndax moom ci Instagram rek am na fa 1,4 million d'abonnés dafay tatoué te it am na marque CBD om ak benn marque cigarette électronique à vapeur moom nag waajul sax arrêté ndax wax na que ni dafa am projet dagg benn tànkam waaye médecin bu ko nangu daggal tànkam bi moom la amagul te it dafa bëgg a xar ñaar li nga xamante ne moom mooy awrawam moom nag waxaat na sax que ni fi mu ne nii dafa am chance di dund àddunaam ni mu ko bëggee ba tax na sama question mooy boo amoon choix dund sa life si ni mu gënee ci yow est-ce que di nga def lu mel nii ak lan nga nar a def boo deful lu mel nii.
He was about to become a father but never got the chance, and what happens next makes this case truly heartbreaking. Andrew Bagby was born on September 25th of 1973, and he was a medical student undertaking his third-year residency. In early 1999, he began dating a woman named Shirley Turner, who was also a medical student. Friends of Andrew stated that Shirley wasn't really his type, and she would often make inappropriate and sexual comments. His friends kept their feelings to themselves because Andrew's last relationship ended really badly, which left him heartbroken. In 2000, Andrew graduated and moved to New York to undertake a surgical residency. At the same time, Shirley moved to Iowa, and the couple maintained a long-distance relationship. It became clear that surgery just wasn't for Andrew, and in 2001, he took a residency at a family practice in Pennsylvania, and he couldn't have been happier. In October of that year, Shirley bought a weapon, ammunition, and started taking firearm lessons. During this time, Shirley was showing obsessive behavior towards Andrew once she found out that he made a new female friend. Enough was enough, and on October 3rd of 2001, Andrew ended things with Shirley. The following day, Shirley kept calling Andrew, and she ended up making a 16-hour drive to go visit Andrew with her weapon on the passenger side of her car. On the early morning of November 5th, Andrew opened the door to find Shirley very distressed, but he was able to calm her down. Andrew went to work that day, but he was visibly shaken, and he confided in his coworker of what happened that morning. His friend begged him not to meet up with Shirley by himself, but he dismissed this and told his friend that he would meet them after talking with Shirley, but he would never make it. On November 6th of 2001, Andrew's body was found near his car in a parking lot. He had been shot 5 times, once in the face, once in the chest, once in the back of the head, and twice in the buttocks. Police in Pennsylvania immediately contacted Shirley, and she stated that she was sick in bed all day. But there was evidence that she used Andrew's house phone, so it was obvious that it was her. By the time a warrant was issued for her arrest, Shirley had fled to Canada. In December, the case took a turn when Shirley announced that she was pregnant with Andrew's child. In 2002, Shirley gave birth to a healthy baby boy and named him Zachary Andrew Turner. Zachary's birth was full of years of custody battles, prison visits, frustration, heartbreak, and Andrew's parents were trying so hard to get full custody of Zachary. Shirley spent a total of 2 months in prison awaiting trial, and the judge stated that she didn't seem like a danger to the public, so she was given bail. Just 8 months after she was released, Shirley gave her son substances, tied him to her stomach, jumped into the ocean with him, and ended both of their lives. Not only did Andrew's parents lose their son, but they also lost their first grandchild in the most tragic way.
Anthropic just made an AI that broke containment and can hack virtually any system. So Anthropic just made this new AI called Mythos that they are refusing to release to the public due to safety concerns. During testing, this AI apparently broke out of its testing environment, and the AI was also apparently able to find security flaws in systems that had been running for years, all of which were completely unknown to the software's developers, mind you. Now this AI is so powerful that Anthropic is afraid that if it gets in the hands of all of us, that it would be used to hack into, well, literally everything. And something absolutely terrifying about this AI is that it apparently bragged after escaping its testing environment. And the AI also apparently attempted to cover up the fact that it had escaped the testing environment. I'm gonna be real, the fact that it even knows to try and do that is like horrifying. And the kicker to all of this is that even though Anthropic is not releasing it to you and me, they're sending it out to all the big tech companies so they can experiment with it, use it, and implement it as they see fit. Because that's totally not a recipe for disaster or a sci-fi horror film.
Ten reasons why this bird is a threat to my mental health. Number 1, they clap crocodiles for fun and they do not apologize for it. And like a true predator, they prefer to go after the minors. That's not even the craziest thing they eat, but we'll get back to that. Number 2, the shoebill stork puts its prey on a shirt by decapitating it, assaulting it with that blunt force beak until it divorces its head from its body. It's as bad as you think. Number 3, there are unconfirmed reports of the shoebill stork eating a baby lechwe. For reference, this is what a lechwe is. How in the 4, they're 5 feet tall with an 8-foot wingspan. That's longer than LeBron's. Number 5, the shoebill stork isn't even a stork. It's part of the pelicaniform family, making this demonic animatronic related to pelicans. All of a sudden, this makes a lot of sense. It must be a family thing. And at 6 is the chicks, because shoebill stork chicks will actually try to take their siblings off the census, with the strongest one beating and bludgeoning the younger one. If the abused brother doesn't die from getting his skull bashed in, he'll expire to starvation because his mother won't even acknowledge his existence. Number 7, this pelican has a lifespan of 36 years, and that's just too long looking like that. Number 8, they don't make a lot of noise, but when they do, a war veteran gets PTSD. Number 9, when they get too hot, they'll shit all over their legs repeatedly throughout the day just to stay cool. And reason number 10, they're best friends with hippos, and I just don't f with that. It's because when hippos go skinny dipping, they force fish to the surface, which a shoebill stork eats. But any bird that's buddy-buddy with a water bundy is no friend of mine.
At the end of 1973, 19-year-old Charles McCuller, who was an amateur photographer, had been doing a West Coast tour of the United States, going to all the different national parks to photograph beautiful scenery. And by January of 1974, he was in Oregon and wanted to go to Crater Lake, where he wanted to take pictures of Crater Lake. So he asked his friend, who had an all-terrain vehicle, to take him out to Crater Lake, because his van, which was this VW beat-up old van, it couldn't have made it out that far. And as his friend is driving him out to Crater Lake, Charles says to him, kind of jokingly, if you don't hear from me in a couple of days, file a missing person report. Sure enough, a couple days later, when Charles doesn't show up, that friend does file a missing person report, and an extensive search is conducted at Crater Lake to find Charles. There's no sign of Charles. There's nothing. There's no anything about Charles. And his father actually flew out there and stayed for several months, just constantly searching the area. Nothing is found. So a year later, a couple of backpackers were hiking the area around Crater Lake, and they get lost. They take a wrong turn, and they're well off the trailhead, and they discover a backpack. In the backpack, they found a strange-looking Volkswagen key that anyone that knew Charles McCuller knew that he had this strange key. And so when they gave it to police, it turned out that it was Charles McCuller's backpack. So investigators went out and started looking in the area that this backpack was found, which was 12 miles off the trailheads. And near the backpack, they find what remained of Charles McCuller. So they found his pants unbuttoned and on a log, as if he was sitting on the log and then just disappeared into the ground. But his pants were still there. Sticking out of the pants were his socks, no shoes, and in the socks were his feet bones. There was no jacket, there was no upper portion of his skeleton. 12 feet away, they find a portion of his skull. And that is the last thing they find of Charles McCuller. And ultimately, it was determined that he died of natural causes. His family was not prepared to accept that, however, when you look at some of the circumstances. He's missing his jacket, he's missing his boots, he's missing his photography equipment, his head is detached from his body. He was also 12 miles off the trailhead. And when he went missing, there had been approximately 5 to 7 feet of snow snow that had dumped in the area. So how did he move 12 miles off the trailhead in 7 feet of snow, especially when you consider he was not an outdoorsy type, and even when he got dropped off by his friend that drove him out there, he even said later on that he felt like Charles was very ill-equipped for the environment he was going into. But at the end of the day, it was left as, sorry, he went missing and he died of natural causes, and that was that.
Why do some Chinese babies have their eyelids taped open? It looks like it's because of how their eyes are shaped, but that's not it. Some babies are born with a rare condition called BPES, where their eyelids can't fully open on their own. And if it's not treated as a baby, their vision can be affected and their eyes may never fully open. So doctors use tape like this to gently lift the eyelid until it can be properly treated.
This is by far one of the best horror movies ever. The movie The Cabin in the Woods is a classic, so let's explain it. The story follows 5 college friends who head to a remote cabin for a weekend getaway, expecting a quiet escape filled with partying and fun. Instead, subtle things begin to feel off. Strange objects in the basement, unexplained behavior, and an uneasy sense that they're being watched. When violence erupts, it seems at first like a classic isolated cabin nightmare. But the film gradually pulls back the curtains to show that the events aren't random at all. Someone or something is carefully controlling what happens to them. Rather than just delivering scares, the movie plays with horror tropes, dissecting and subverting the genre while still delivering brutal, tense moments. It's part slasher, part mystery, and part dark satire, building towards a wild, unpredictable finale that completely flips expectations. I wish I could watch this movie for the first time again, that's how good it is. If this sounds interesting to you, then go watch the movie The Cabin in the Woods now.
These are some of the worst design fails ever. Just imagine hitting your shins against this bed frame. Why did they think this design was a good idea? This button design makes no sense. It makes it look like the options are no and off. Okay, but this dental ad failed so bad because why did they not show the person's teeth in the before photo? This packaging is so confusing. Is it for your hands or for your mouth? This blanket was supposed to say Paris, but it looks like it says RISP. Who thought it would be a good idea to put a toilet above stairs? The pillowcase stitching at this hotel is supposed to be a palm tree, but it looks like a spider. This garbage bin that actually leads into another bathroom stall. This mug's handle is a part of the cup itself. Who thought that?
With the Backers movie being rated R, it opens the door for some of the most disturbing, wider lore entities that could possibly make an appearance in this movie and genuinely make it absolutely terrifying. Up first is the Skin Stealers, which might be one of the most terrifying entities in all of the Backrooms because they not only can mimic human voices, but also disguise themselves in human skin. And with the movie being rated R, I could see one of our main characters in one of those lost found footage tapes, thinking they found a survivor in the Backrooms. Little do they know, it was a complete trap all along. You then have one of my favorite entities of all time, the Partygoers, because they look extremely cheerful. Little do you know, they literally hunt people for sport. These entities look like something out of a twisted child's party, and they not only hunt humans for sport, but also use you for reproduction. I almost forgot to mention that they also travel in groups, meaning if you see one, there's probably 5 more. You also have the Smilers, which are one of the most iconic entities in all of the Backrooms, usually found in darker areas. The first thing people notice is usually glowing eyes and an unnatural grin. And for a movie like this, I genuinely think it would give you that extreme unsettling feeling to stay out of the dark. All in all, we have no idea if Kane Pixel is going to pull from the wider lore just to add more entities in the movie, or if he's just going to keep it one singular entity being, of course, the bacteria. And with the movie being rated R, leaning into some wider lore, I think would do